Councilor Green, Councilor Thompson, Councilor Bay, and Councilor Allen. Commissioner Delvecchio, would you introduce it and describe any, welcome back, any accomplishments, plans, goals, and if you could describe how much money do we generate, like net, on parking violations?
Well, I will say the program. I believe last year we spoke about the plate reading, where the plates now on what individuals were doing involved surrendering their plates, getting new plates for their vehicle. So with DMV now, we're able to match up those plates, and I believe that's brought in a significant amount of money. So the vehicle has been so you can surrender your plate, but we track the plate, match it with the same owner, and that's pursued. And I don't have the exact dollars how much that brought in. I don't know if Debbie has that, but we can get that for you. So that's been a major initiative over the past year, and been very successful.
Do you know which page we would see your total revenue on? Because like we can see your budget pretty easily, but then
I was just looking. Yeah, I'm not sure what page it is. 6.
Parking ticket receipts.
2,000,008.
Is it all inclusive in the one line? It's not spread into some different categories. So essentially, we're saying 2.7 for the year that we're wrapping up, and 2.85 as the target for
projected increase. Yeah, again, because we're I think that'll increase because we're matching plates and should be able to collect on more of the delinquencies.
So we're generating net over $2 million from parking violations a year. Does that sound fair? 2.8, your budget's
fair.
less than.
Well, yeah, if you would like to, yeah. If you look at the revenue side of it minus the cost.
I didn't even know there was a phone there. Well, thank you for the $2 million.
Well, again, that's how the budgeting system works. So the revenues are on the other side of the ledger.
Have there been any noteworthy changes in the last year, or
no? Actually, in terms of the budget, everything all is consistent. Other than that initiative I just spoke to, nothing's changed. In fact, if you look at what I call the 415 line, I think it's called professional. On page 106, the 252, 295 remains the same. The biggest cost of that is the 200,000 of that 252 relates to the contract we have with Paylock, which is the booting company. As you know, they have technology that reads plates, and after you receive 3 or more tickets, you become boot eligible, and they drive the city and will immobilize a vehicle in the event it's shown as delinquent. So that's their fee, and they're paid on a percentage. So it's not that we just give them 200 a year, but that's the estimate. The remaining, we have a hearing examiner, which is a part-time individual, and multiple part-time hearing exam. One, I should say, we have one supervisor of hearing examiners. He's an attorney, and then we have, I believe, 5 hearing examiners that adjudicate cases relating to parking tickets. So if I receive a parking ticket and I want to protest it, I request a hearing with someone. And the supervisor is responsible for paperwork in the office as well as scheduling the various examiners on a particular day. And if so, for example, if I want to protest my ticket, I go before hearing examiner, and that's all done downstairs in the Parking Violations Bureau. And the staff down there support the examiners. This is the old city court function that was transferred to the tribunal, is how I believe it was referred to. So when city court, through state legislation, the power of the court system was transferred to this tribunal, so they can adjudicate these tickets as opposed to going through a city court judge.
They're paid for out of the professional service line instead of salaries. Is that?
Well, the hearing examiner is paid out of here. The supervisor of hearing examiners is paid here. It's a $30,000 salary.
When you say here, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. On page the 415 line, the professional services line. The hearing examiner part-time. The supervisor is paid from that line. The hearing examiners that adjudicate cases every day, they are no longer paid out of professional services. They now appear up in the salary line. They will be on page 106 in the 510-300 line, which says temporary services part-time. They're all employees now. A few years back, they were treated as independent contractors, and we switched that. So now they're considered employees of the city.
Are they full-time employees then?
No.
No, they're just
No.
part-time.
I believe they typically work 1 day a week, 3 hours a day, and then they have appeals once a month, and I'm not sure of the exact hours. I mean, it varies. There's no fixed hours, but they hold hearings every day, and it's all scheduled. Generally about 3 hours.
That's their day.
Yeah, just in regards to the fact that they're no longer contractors and now employees, is that relative to the state legislation that was passed?
Well, the state legislation actually mandated they be independent contractors. So when the city rolled the program out, they treated those, not the supervisor. Supervisor was always a SURA employee, just as this supervisor is. But the legislation required all the hearing examiners to be independent contractors. So when I went to finance years back, I never liked the idea of that. The IRS audited that and questioned it and said, "We want you to change that," and that's inconsistent with what the tax law reads. And I agreed with that, and we changed it. And going forward, so there was no issues going back, but going forward. Now, what does it mean for the employee? Because they work very few hours, they're not eligible for New York State retirement. I can't speak to any medical or whether I have the ability to secure any medical benefits or fringe benefits of the city. The cost to the city, however, is we now incur the employer portion of the Social Security, the FICA rate, 7.65%. The savings to the individual is they were paying self-employment tax on this, so they were paying over 15% tax on that. But the legislation created it in that manner, but it was inconsistent with tax law. So we as a city made that change a few years back.
Gotcha. Yeah, well, you continue, or can I continue?
Go ahead.
Okay. Did you see the audit report?
The city's audit?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't bring it with me, but yeah.
Well, I'm just going to read directly. City does not reconcile parking on website information for coin and credit card receipts to the accounting records on a regular basis. The recommendation: the city should analytically compare revenue received to prior months or years to determine if revenue is meeting or is within expectations.
Now, Parkion.
Yours, I think, are.
Parkeon is the software the DPW uses.
Gotcha.
That, and I think they've had some transition in staff there, but the Whoosh application, Parkeon, it's all related to the to the meters and.
This is only for the tickets once they're written, not for
Right.
the
This is before they're written.
Gotcha.
Right.
example.
Gotcha.
Right. And that's a point that's been brought up, that they reconcile. They need to reconcile that. That's my understanding. At least a couple people at DPW have access to the Parkeon website, where they should be able to match that up on a daily basis.
Right.
Now, what we do have, if I could just follow up, just make sure you get some background on that. What we do internally, as part of a program, to the extent finance is involved, we have, and I worked with DPW years back where there was a problem with the collection company of the coins. What we have now is the DPW has a contract to pick up the coins at the pay stations on the street. They're brought to a third party where they're counted. And we have a good control system there, so it's not one company involved in the account. So there's a company taking the coins, bringing them to a third part, another location, and they're counting them, and they're giving us a comparison between what the computer says should be in that canister versus what is actually in there.
Right.
So there's generally, and that's something that's all related to, you know, the Parkeon website, where they can get that information. Gotcha. So it's all kind of related. But so finance is involved in that aspect of it. I helped arrange the program, and we pay for that counting as a fee to the. I don't know if I should. I hate to mention the names of the companies we're using, but in terms of the where the money is being taken, I'd rather not say publicly, but
Right.
you know, for security reasons.
Right.
It's not City Hall. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
You mentioned that the boot company receives a percentage. Do you know what the percentage is?
I think 5%. Do you know? Wait, it was 5. It's
5,
more.
okay.
Is it? You know what the fee is right now? They get. Paylon gets 28%.
28%. So is this a service that we would ever have in-house? Is this something that we would ever do? No?
Tried it,
We did.
didn't work.
Okay.
That's where the overtime costs were.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When
Now,
the police used to do it,
Right.
it was costing more than we were collecting.
the legislation still allows the police department to do it. So when we because we had to go amend the traffic code, I believe, to allow the Department of Finance the authority to undertake the immobilization of a vehicle. So in addition to police, so the police still have the authority to do this. It's just as a matter of practice, the administration always felt it would be more effective to outsource that, because it was always done on overtime by the police department.
Okay. One last question. In a recent news article, I think it was like a month ago, when they kind of shamed the people for not paying their tickets, did that have an increase in people coming down and actually paying?
I don't know. I would think it would.
A lot of people came in and entered into payment plans. We did see a lot of people coming in and getting into payment plans.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
When was the last, could I ask, are you done?
Yep.
When was the last amnesty that they did?
They were on the old system. I believe it was, they were still on the AS 400 when they did the amnesty, 2003.
That's going, yeah, I believe,
Couldn't find a lot of information on it when we tried to look it up.
I believe Mayor Driscoll was here. Early years of Mayor Driscoll's administration, they did an amnesty, but that was it.
And now that we're tied into the additional tickets that could have been on somebody's plates going back in time, correct? We have a good accounting as to what exists for an individual or for a company or a person or whatever.
Since we've gone to the AIM system, system,
Yes.
we have good information. When you're going back to tickets that were pulled over from the AS 400 to the current system, it's,
So what would the gap be? Say, what years?
2005, 2006 to present is very accurate.
Okay.
Another item I think we can point out is the initiative. Again, the van is primarily, can only work in the city and city jurisdiction. I think now we've extended that housing authority property. I believe the IDA gave the city permission on any property they own. So that, if you're in the city, if you incur a plate where you live in the suburbs, the van cannot pursue you. So that seems to be.
And we have talked about maybe going into the counties, working with the county, but 90.
Can you come to the mic?
Parking
I mean,
is
the
all
more you,
street in the county.
because we tape everything, nobody can hear you.
He's just asking me to speak into the mic.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. We did think about going into the counties to boot, but after talking to some people, it's mostly off-street parking in the county areas, so we don't think we'd be successful at it. Eventually, people do come in. We have changed some of the hours, like the boot van used to have just certain hours during the day. We've worked with them, and they're doing some Friday nights in the downtown areas. They're doing some Saturday nights. That's helped a little bit, them changing their hours to get out to people. Quickly, people found out what hours they worked, and they would just avoid being in certain areas. So that's helped a little bit with them working with us to change their hours.
So I know traditionally, this time of year, April to May, is a time that the east side in the university area, where are
They focus very heavily in that area at this point in time. The beginning of school and the end of school, they focus very heavily, and we do get a lot of hits with that.
You guys are giving away your trade secrets on camera.
That's
Not
okay.
even know.
That's okay.
Maybe they'll come in and pay 'em.
I did get a impassioned letter from a student seeking justice about the way the alternate side works. But is there any kind of, in practice, grace period? For instance, if it switches at 6, like, do we write a lot of tickets from 5:40 to 6 or from 6 o'clock to 6:20? Or
If you can get an answer from the police department on a grace period for that, we would love it. I believe if it's a hindrance and safety vehicles can't get down the street, they will ticket. We've had them issued 5 minutes to 6, 5 minutes after 6. That goes before the hearing examiners, and they make the decision on that. But from what I understand from the police department, there is no grace period.
Right. Okay.
The boot company is also upgrading some of their equipment. Right now, when they boot a vehicle, everything is handwritten. They're doing a test to see if everything can be pulled off the computer. A little bit clearer, just easier. They're continually looking into different systems to help upgrade.
What's the name of this company?
Paylock, Bootview.
Paylock.
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 Is this something that they've been doing it for a number of years now? Is this something that you should look at RFPing in the future? Are there other ones that are competitive, or no? I know we've had great success with this company, but.
Yeah, the city's been with them for years. I believe they're expanding. I don't know.
They are across the country because
Yeah.
I continually get phone calls from different states asking about it. Their home office is stationed out of Jersey. But the two people that do the booting are local.
Two individual. The company employs two individuals from the city, not non-city employees, their own company employees that drive those vans.
Oh, wow. I thought it would be more, but.
No, that's all they. And like Debbie said, they do rotate hours now, so you could see them out 8, 9 o'clock at night. Yeah.
And we do work very closely with them. Like certain events that are going on in the downtown area, we don't boot cars on Salina Street the night before the parade, okay? So they do work with us very closely. They're a very good company to deal with.
Other questions? Okay, well, I'll close the meeting for
Okay.
parking